Okay. So first and foremost, we have the gorgeous, talented Hailee Steinfeld. Hailee, as many of you know, is very, very talented. She is a Golden Globe and Academy Award nominated actor. She is also a multi-platinum recording artist, a producer, and just like just like an awesome chick. We had a chance to talk with Hailee beforehand, and she's just real, authentic, and very excited to hear her story. So thank you, Hailee, for coming today. Next up, we have Lindsay Fleming. She is a Chicago native, very, very sweet girl, super talented, and also a licensed professional counselor. So she is going to really give us some great tips on like mental health, and she's going to kind of talk about more of the scientific part of what's going on with all of our hopes of like maintaining balance. So thank you, Lindsay, for joining us. Woo-hoo! And finally, we have Shanae Alexander. She is a firecracker from Texas. Now she lives in New York, and she's a lifestyle and wellness influencer. So if you don't follow these ladies on Instagram, you should, because they have some incredible tips to share. So thank you for all of your time today. And we are going to get started because we have so much to talk about. So first question is all about, again, navigating life. So a recent study said that 75% of people that are ages 18 to 25 are feeling like they're at a crossroads in their life, and they feel like they are struggling with a lot of different challenges. So this question is for Lindsay. So you've created a very authentic community online where you talk about mental health and some of the problems that people face. So I'm trying to understand, what would you say from your experience are some of the issues that Gen Z and millennials are coming to you with? And how would you say those issues are different from like what previous generations experienced?
Yes, so like we're here today talking about wellness.
Yeah.
So in the past, I think when we think about decision making, people often found a career, they got a job, and they worked their way up the ladder. And now it's a lot harder to make decisions about your future because people are balancing not only their career, but that work-life balance and wellness. So we're seeing people having to make decisions that there might not be no clear answer, like this is going to benefit me career-wise, but what about my wellness, my family, and balancing those two out. I think about with decision making, we grew up in a school system, we go to school, it's kind of planned out for us, limited options for making decisions, and then we can like pick who we hang out with after school or what sports we do, but then you get to the real world and it feels like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Am I making these right choices? And we often get stuck in this comparison.
Yes.
Where we cognitively understand, yes, social media, online world is not real, right? We get that. We all see the people we went to high school with where it's like, oh my gosh, lovebirds, and then they break up and we're like, oh, what happened? I need to know why they break up, right? So cognitively we can understand that, but emotionally it's really hard when we're stressed out to be able to identify, like, this is not reality. My friend who's jetting off to Europe all the time, like there's other things going on in her life. So I see them struggling with comparing and also like a lack of confidence in their decision making. They make a decision, you're not getting what you got in school, I got an A because I decided to study. They're like, is this the right choice for me? And there's no right answer. So I see Gen Z millennials really struggling with like lack of reinforcement and lack of confidence that they know themselves well enough to know what is the right choice.
I agree. And I feel like it's hard because we do put out so much of our information in life and a lot of people aren't talking about like their struggles online. They're talking about all the good things. So it's very easy, I think, to just look at that and feel like bad about yourself.
Yeah.
So
I got married and online people are just seeing beautiful photos. They don't know I forgot to shave my armpits for my own wedding. Yeah. Like half of the videos. So it's really hard to remind ourselves that behind those photos, there's a lot of other things going on.
There's a lot of truth.
Take away one thing from this. That's
Thank you so much, Lindsay. So the next question is for you, Hailee. So you have said that you're someone who actually really enjoys challenges, you like change, whether it's professionally or personally. you're like a thrill seeker. You like change and challenge. So how do you continue to stay grounded and focused and confident, especially as a person who's in the public eye?
Well, I certainly love to challenge myself. I think with the nature of what I do, change is constantly occurring.
Yeah.
I rarely know where I'm going or what I'm doing until I'm there and doing it. So I've had to sort of learn to embrace that chaos. And in a way, I think in my personal life, outside of all of that, I've been able to take that sort of lesson of embracing the chaos into my personal life, but then I also have these moments of like, change is hard for anyone and everyone, regardless of who you are, where you're from, how old you are. Change is a difficult thing to go through. And I've had these moments in my personal life where things do slow down, and I don't have that, at least when things are changing with my work, I'm still being told what to do and where to go.
Right.
But when it's just me and I'm on my own, it's like I have to, and I think that's the part of me that is that thrill seeker that does like to find ways to challenge myself and keep myself on my toes. As far as staying grounded, I think it really all comes back to health and wellness and checking in with myself. And I've really learned the importance of prioritizing listening to my body. I am somebody who loves to work, and I go until my body has its ways of telling me it's time to take a break, and that's never a great thing when you have to wait when that happens. But yeah, as far as staying grounded, I've gotten really good at checking in with myself and listening to myself, and I'm no expert in these departments, but I am an expert at knowing what is best for me at the end of the day, and I just try and listen to that.
I love that. Yeah, like that intuition that we all have inside of us. Like you do have to kind of listen to that inner voice. So I love that. Thank you so much. Shanae, you have like a very large social media following. You have a community of people that kind of keep up with like everything that you do, which is amazing. But I can assume that at times that might be a little stressful as well. Can you kind of tell us about like a pivotal moment in your life where you were kind of faced with a lot of challenges in your mid-20s, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I'm not going to tell you how long ago my mid-20s was. I'm gonna lean hard into the skincare and the water that I've had into this point. But basically, when I was 27, 28, I went through like an absolute crisis, literally crying in the streets of New York, which we've all seen or done. But I was working as a marketing director for like 8 years. I had a long-term boyfriend. All of it ended at the same exact time. I'm sure y'all can all relate. But basically my boss was like, you're not supposed to work for someone. You're supposed to go start a business. I was like, but can I still work for you? He's like, absolutely not. Your last day is in 2 days. And so he's like, I'm going to pay you for two months to go start a company. And so I wandered around Park Slope for 3 hours crying in the street. And then I was like, I'm going to start my business. And so I started an event planning company. It was my first foray into doing something for myself. And so it was this incredible thing of like my relationship ending, my job ending, all this kind of like forced evolution. But it was funny, when I was a child, my family moved every 3 years of my life. And that was the thing I hated the most about my childhood. I was like, I was like, man, all the other kids get to stay. And of course we didn't have cell phones or anything. So it was just like, well, I have no friends. I was perpetually the new kid, but it kind of like, it prepared me for this type of change. So it's like, all of these lessons in life, whether that's through childhood and change and things unexpectedly happening, or whether that be in your mid-20s, it's like, man, that galvanizes you. It galvanizes you for that next step. And so for me, all of these kind of like pivotal moments, when I look back, I'm like, yeah, at the time that was like such a, I can't say that word, but bad moment. And they're directly the things that brought me to the moment I have. And I'm sure we can all like go back in our head and be like, what was the one relationship I am so glad did not turn out? Like, oh my gosh, thank God I did not end up with my high school sweetheart. But but it's like these moments in your life where it feels like failure and flailing, and it ends up being like the perfect redirection to the path you're supposed to be in, and kind of accepting that has been hugely helpful for me.
Right. And what role would you say like your self-confidence played when you were in like the depths of change and turmoil and feeling sad? Like, how did you get it together?
I think when you're perpetually the new kid, I mean, we've all been the new kid. I'm sure some of you came here tonight and you're like, I'm the new kid. I don't know anyone. I have to like introduce myself. And, you know, we all kind of do that every day, especially, you know, in our work and in life. But, you know, building confidence is that muscle. It's taking those tiny little risks of being yourself in, you know, little spurts. So it's like, okay, like, can I just be myself for the first 5 awkward minutes of a party or of a work function? I think also, you know, we all expect confidence to be this light switch. It's a practice, you know, like there are days that I feel horrible about myself, but I think being able to embrace those days and being like, self-love is not really, like, self-love is a really overplayed term most of the time. Obviously, like so many of us have heard like, love yourself. And it's like, well, what about days when you don't love yourself? You know, that's where the confidence picks up and you're like, I can look at myself today and feel maybe that I don't love myself fully, but I can still be confident in who I am and who I'm becoming. And so for me, confidence is about the process, not about the result. And so, yeah, if anyone's out there listening and is struggling with confidence of like, of wondering who you are or who you're becoming, it's all about kind of like pressing into the daily exercise of pushing yourself, and also what's the worst that can happen.
Right. I love that. And I know that a lot of people like, come to you. You said people like slide into your DMs all the time, like asking
not
for
like
advice.
That.
Sometimes.
Boyfriend, if you're watching, not like that.
But like very briefly, how would you like? What advice would you give to someone who's like just needs a little bit more balance in their lives? What would you say is like the first step for them to take?
I think perspective is like the thing we all lack. You know, we all think like everything's the end of the world. The relationship ending is the end of the world. Not getting the workout in is the end of the world. Not getting your core water in is the end of the world. But yeah, that actually could be bad for you. But you know, I think stepping out of yourself a little bit and being like, okay, life is so long. Like in the grand scheme of this, like what does this small, what feels like, you know, failure or thing you didn't do, like how is that actually like gonna harm the rest of my life, you know? And I think just having a little more perspective and a more like, I always picture myself on like a little drone. I don't know how drones work, but if I was a little drone, like looking at the aerial view of the bigger picture.
I like that.
Do you guys know how drones work? We're not gonna talk about drones, but kind of getting that aerial view of your life versus getting in the nitty gritty, because we get so stuck in the like daily bad stuff, the daily like grind. Yeah, the details of life, and everything feels like such a big deal. And I've dealt with anxiety. I know you talk a lot about anxiety and like, you know, getting out of life's little anxieties and seeing a bigger picture has helped me always.
Yeah.
I would love to add a tip
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
So like here we go. With anxiety, a lot of times that's just telling ourselves that bad things can happen, and confidence is the ability to say bad things can happen and I can handle it. It might be uncomfortable and gross and I'm crying in the middle of the streets of New York, but I know that eventually I will figure it out. And so for people who want to build that confidence muscle, so just like if we want to get strong, we do push-ups. If you want to build that confidence muscle, you find small ways within your day. So my 18 to 24-year-old clients, a lot of times they feel disconnected or lonely and are scared to reach out to a friend that they haven't spoken to in a while. So taking those small steps of reaching out shows, oh, I can handle this uncomfortability and I can do it. And then that over time will build your confidence into those bigger moments.
Yeah. And I feel like even like after like COVID, for example, we were joking a little bit before this discussion. It's like, I have 2 little kids at home. I don't go out that much. Like you lose the muscles of like chit-chatting and like walking into a room and introducing yourself. So I feel like this whole talk about like rebuilding the muscles and finding time to really like check in with yourself It's all very valid, whatever stage in life you're in, whether you're single, in your 20s, married, with kids, whatever. So very good advice. Now, Hailee, I know you have, your life is very exciting, very busy, and obviously like really, really hectic. So I think I definitely want to know, but like, what do you do to kind of stay grounded, to check in with yourself, and to kind of like take a minute for yourself? What are some of like your tips and your hacks and your tricks?
Sometimes it's a matter of whatever I have time for, or all that I have time for. If it's a 5-minute walk, or just sitting down in some grass looking up at the trees, being in nature, I find that to be really grounding. Listening to some calm music, calling a friend. I call my family all the time. I'm so surprised that they like actually pick. I like will hang up and call them right back just because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I just want somebody there, and I just want to sort of remove myself from this craziness and find the stillness within just being there on the phone, or opening a book, journaling. That's something I love to do, and I love everything you both are saying, because it doesn't have to be about this big old end result. It can be about what you're saying, the process, and I'm obsessed with journals, like a physical journal. I love
writing.
Oh my God, like my poor mom, I don't know what she spent on journals growing up for me, because I just would like write in a few pages and then I'd like want a new book. And then as I got older, I felt like it was like I had to fill every page before I got into a new book that like inspired me, or I felt would represent a new chapter. And it's not about that. It's not, sometimes I felt, I would wake up and journal, and then I thought, I'm not really getting anywhere with this. I mean, it feels good, which I should have stopped there and known that that's why I was doing it. But I felt like, a story had to be told, or it had to, like, as if anyone was ever going to see it. It was for me. It was to, that's something I've gone back to, which I really love. And it's all you need is 2 or 3 minutes to just like get something off and out of your head and onto a piece of paper. And even if you rip it up and throw it out after, it's no longer yours. It's out there, and I love doing that. I have 2 super, super cute dogs that are just like stress relievers.
We need names.
Brando and Martini.
Thank you.
They're just the best.
Are they big, little
No,
dogs?
they're tiny.
Cute.
They're like 3.5 pounds each. They're so small.
Yeah.
But I love being with my friends, being with my family. I have a really amazing small group of people around me that keep me in check and remind me of the things I need to be reminded of if I ever feel like I'm, lost or confused. And that's just who I am and what I love and what I stand for. And sometimes it's nice to just keep those people close and have them remind you in times that you forget.
I love that. That's beautiful. And to the point of like journaling, I think it's also so fun to like kind of go back and kind of read through like your experiences, to be like what you learned from it or what you didn't learn from it. It's like, it's a very good like way to release.
I did do that recently. I was at my mom's house and I went back through an old one, and I literally, and this is maybe why I like would put so much pressure on myself, because I was right into the world every day. I was like, the updates were insane. And I also used to do like little video, like I would carry around a laptop because I didn't have a phone. This was like way back when, like Generation 1 MacBook, just like a big old thing, and I'd carry it around and be like, hello everybody, today is August 5th, 2000 whatever, and it's 4:11, and I will be like, literally, I'm like, who do you think is watching this?
And now people watch it.
Yeah.
We're not going to say that manifestation doesn't work.
You predicted the future.
Hi everyone, and then we're just like, hi everyone, literally, hi everyone.
Hey guys.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I'm like, it's a good thing there wasn't just an upload button.
Very, very, very cool. Now, Lindsay, we're going to get a little bit technical here. So the American Psychological Association said that actually only half of those people in their mid-20s believe that they know how to manage their stress in like a positive, good way. So being that you're like the science person here, what would you say are some tools that people can like implement in their lives to kind of manage their stress in a more effective way and to kind of deal with like the challenges that they may face?
Yes.
Yes.
I know, I'm like, I need a pencil.
The problem is there's no quick fix, right? Like
Right.
this is the thing. People come to me, whether it's in my comments on TikTok or in my office, and they're like, Lindsay, I am at a 10 out of 10 stress level. Like, what can I do right now? And there are great tools for in those moments. Like, I was talking to you about my anxiety before coming out here, or being able to practice deep breathing, drinking water. Like, all those things are really helpful for in the moment. So the biggest one I'll say is like deep breathing. When you breathe in and then you want your out breath to be longer than your in breath, then what that does is it triggers in our brain the calm down portion. So it starts to calm down your body, which helps us calm down our brain. But the reality is it's all about prevention work, which is like what you were talking about. When it comes to really building wellness into your life, we have to have the awareness to know what we need, and everybody needs different things. So after this live or after tonight, if you are looking to try to find a way to manage your stress better, I'd say open your phone, make a phone notes, and just say wellness at the top. And for a week or two, just document how you feel. When do you feel good? When do you feel like overwhelmed? When do you feel neutral? And over time, and don't judge yourself. We love to judge ourselves. It's just noticing. And then over time, you can notice where are times that I can make a difference. So for me, if it was my phone notes, you would see Lindsay loves to snooze her alarm and wakes up really late and then is stressing. And obviously that's going to impact my day. So it's a lot easier to calm down from a 3 out of a 10 than a 10 out of 10. So by being able to say, maybe I should get up 10 minutes earlier and go for a mindfulness walk or drink water or call my family, like being able to implement those small things help us feel better throughout our day. And I will say what I get a lot of times is my clients will do all this work on this, right? Like they come in and they're like feeling more connected, going out with their friends, like they're going for mindfulness walks, they're drinking more water, they come into me, and then I'm like, you're great, go out there, no more therapy needed. And then a few months go by, a year, and it's like, hey, Lindsay, do you have a session open? I'm like, come on in, what's going on? And it's like, I feel a 10 out of 10 all the time. And when we get down to what's going on, they dropped all of those preventative things. And I think it's because we get so used to like wanting that automatic fix that why do I need to keep waking up? I can sleep in today. And over time we get back to those habits. And it's okay, just if we start to feel at a 10 out of 10 a lot, it's a reminder like let's go back to those preventative tools and start to implement more of those.
I can very much relate to that as well, because it's like I'm like a perfectionist, and if I with kids, like when you have kids or when you're used to things being a certain way, if I don't tell myself, okay, expect that they're going to drop the Cheerios, expect that they're going to not want to put their shoes on, expect that it's going to be a pain to get them in the car, then I'm really, really stressed when they don't listen to me. So I completely have done what you've said, like mentally preparing myself to like not expect the worst, but to expect things to not go perfectly. And I think that's like a good lesson for all of us to like, to remember that like you have to like kind of prepare yourself, give yourself like a beat to like start the day and face whatever you need to face. And on that note, like Hailee, I know that obviously as like a public figure, you're constantly in the public eye. Sometimes you might feel like you're scrutinized, or you might feel like everyone's watching like your every move. How would you say, I know you talked about how important your family is, but who else in your inner circle like helps keep you grounded? And what would you say is like some of the best advice they've given you in terms of like just, kind of chilling out and like blocking out all the negativity that can sometimes be part of like a public figure's life?
Yeah, relax, Hailee. Calm down. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. I think I feel so lucky to have people sometimes just around me. I'll finish that sentence. Have people around me that are there and willing to listen to me. Because sometimes all I need to do is just like talk about it, which is why therapy is such a great tool. Having people in your life can be in place of that if that's what works for you. Family, friends, whoever. But I guess best advice. I do. My dad is a personal fitness trainer and nutritionist, so he eats, sleeps, and breathes all things health and wellness. And I've only, I'd say in the last 5 years or so, come to the realization that I've been living with this guy my whole life, and I'm only just now taking advantage of his knowledge and understand. I mean, it's crazy. I'm like, I had to wait this long.
You're like, you've been here this
You've
whole
been here
time?
the whole. You've always known this. But it's become such a huge part of me. And one thing I do love on that note is that it was never anything that he or my mom pushed on my brother and I. We grew up playing sports and living a very healthy, active lifestyle. It was never anything that was at all pushed on us. I think if for whatever reason it might have, I may not feel the way that I do now, where I'm desperate to learn more. I always feel like there's something to learn and advice to pick up on. And maybe I tend to find too, and maybe this isn't why it's coming to my mind in this moment, some of the best advice I've been given has just been in casual conversation and in, learning about someone else's experience and how they handled it, and implementing, maybe what I learned from them into my own situations. I guess I kind of had like 14 thoughts that just popped into my mind, and then I lost where I was going there. But I totally attribute a lot of my sanity and my groundedness to the people around me. And I also think like I love what I do so much, and while it can be hectic and crazy, and it comes with some, things that some jobs might not, I love what I do, and I'm reminded of that constantly, just as much as I might be reminded of the things that I question why that has to be a part of what I do. Yeah. But I love it so much, and I also get to partner with a brand like Core, which we have feelings that are so aligned, and this serves as such an incredible reminder to me that like this is what I get to do right now with you guys and be here right now. This isn't work. This is community. This is exciting to me. This is a journey that we're all on together. And I feel, we were talking about these stats, and we're like 18 to 24. I was like, damn, I just made the cutoff, and I'm still feeling all these things. You're like, whoa. But hold on, can we extend that for
I'm 38, and it's still around.
Okay, listen. But I feel like, as I get older, I'm understanding that, and I'm having more grace and more patience towards the idea of that and towards myself, because this is a lifelong journey. It's a lifestyle, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not the flip of a switch. And I think I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
but
you did.
Somewhere in there, maybe.
You did before as well, when you were saying like you just rely on your family, like you'll just call them, and just like having somebody listen.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what we're talking about. It's just like having like someone to like validate your feelings.
Yeah.
I
also think in addition to that, and what you were saying, I thought it was so interesting. I have felt a lot of this, but it's always sort of easier and helps put it into perspective when you hear someone else say it. When you're saying that 18 to 26-year-olds have a hard time. You might have to help me out here with the confidence in making their own decisions. Mm-hmm. Was that
yes, yep, you got it, you nailed it. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I talk so much about the people around me. I think for a long time, and you guys mentioned comparison, like I used to think that like I would see what I felt was a perfect example of something and try and, instead of letting myself be inspired by that, I would copy it or try to. Yeah. And the one thing too I've learned about wellness is that it looks different for everyone. Yeah. And it's so fun and amazing that we have so much access to all of these, whoever's morning routine and whatever, like all that stuff is so fun to watch. I save every single video I see. But I then have to remind myself that like, if I try this for a week, or maybe I should try it for longer than a week before I give up on it, or a little bit, and it doesn't work for me, that's okay. Like there's also understanding that it's an evolution, and it's a lifelong thing.
And no matter what age you are, we need different things at different ages,
right?
Like, so it's like what I needed at 18 for my morning routine is different than what I need.
Sometimes you need a hash brown,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like
true.
Sometimes that is like wellness.
It's just
I have one thing that's really helped me, because I know like if you're anything like me, which maybe you're perfect, I'm not, but that thing that you've been dreading, it's like the email that you've been dreading responding to, or like it's like a 10-minute walk. It's like something so incredibly benign that you're like, why am I avoiding this? So I did not see myself like doing a Mark Twain quote, but here we go. So it's called like the frog theory. I don't know if anyone's ever heard this, but basically Mark Twain, I'm hoping this is Mark Twain. If it's not, I made it up. But yeah, it's Mrs. Twain, you know me. But basically it's, if you have a frog, I don't know why he was talking about eating frogs, but if you have a frog to eat,
sure it was him.
yes, Mark Twain, lover of frogs. He basically says like if you have to like hypothetically eat a frog, which means like doing an undesirable task, eat it first thing, and if you have to eat two, eat the bigger one first. So I always think about that, like what is the absolute thing that I am dreading today, and trying to get that. Like I don't do this all the time. Trust me, I literally avoided opening an envelope from the IRS for 2 weeks. Turned out it was a check, which is not what I expected. But you know, I was like, okay, today is gonna be my eat the frog day. I'm gonna eat the frog that I don't want I want to do the task that feels big and hard and really scary, and like those adult things. I'm 38, and the adult things like really scare me. I had to get a car inspection? No. I'm gonna wait till the last day for that. But it really does help me. Like you'll think of me from now on, which I'm sorry, but you're gonna wake up and be like, which is the bigger frog, or what's the frog? And it really helps me. I literally think about Mark Twain almost every day now, which is, I'm passing that to you. But it really helps me when there's things that feel big or produce like some sort of stress or anxiety. And it helps you just like, when you feel like you can do these big things, it makes the small things so much easier to handle, and it makes your day feel like, you're like, why was I waiting to do this? We've all been there. You're like, wow, that was a 30-second email I could have sent. But when you start knocking off those things that are bringing you down or that are weighing you down every day, even if it's little bits like that, I feel like there's so much more room for true wellness, which is like living a lighter and kind of less anxiety prone, heavy life. We can start kind of like taking those factors away, and just like you, it's like the little things.
Yeah, take those frogs down.
Yeah, take the frogs down. Don't. Yeah, Mark Twain. Probably Mark Twain.
Sorry to the frogs.
All right, ladies, we are now going to turn things around a little bit. We've asked people in the audience that are watching us virtually to kind of submit a couple of questions. We are going to pose these questions to Hailee first, but then of course, Shanae and Lindsay, please chime in as well. So somebody wrote in, and the question is for Hailee. I struggle with keeping myself hydrated. Hailee, how do you remind yourself to drink water throughout the day? And do you have any tips for those who want to hydrate more?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so like I said earlier, I almost feel my body tells me when I'm not hydrated, and it's not cute, it's not nice, it's not good for anyone involved. So I sort of feel like if you're in that space where you have a hard time hydrating becomes a task, and it like suddenly water tastes bad. And so as far as like tips, like flavored water, I love. When Core Hydration Plus launched, I was like, oh, this is a dream. And every morning I like open my fridge and I'm like, what's it gonna be today? I like have my options. So Core Hydration Plus is a great way if you're having trouble and you feel like just drinking water is something you're doing because you know you're supposed to be drinking more water. I don't know, go for water-rich foods. I also just think once you do hydrate and you know, like you feel how good life can be, everything just works. And for me, it's just like my skin, you can tell my energy, that's a huge thing. Fatigue, oh my God. If it like, I could go through an entire workday having eaten just enough to get by, and if I'm super hydrated, I am like on the top of my game. I feel great, and again, then it's a better place for everybody. But yeah, I would say that, and as far as how I do it, I am never without a bottle of Core. truly.
Okay.
They're everywhere.
Love it. Yes, they do taste delicious. The other question that we want to get to for Hailee, when you're feeling unbalanced and lacking motivation, how do you stay focused on your goals, and how do you kind of like navigate that experience?
I don't have one way. I don't have one thing that I do. I can feel that way pretty often, unbalanced and a little confused or lost, or sometimes, I mean, I'm an incredibly ambitious person, and sometimes I will bite off more than I can chew, and then I feel like I've set myself back because of that. But I think it's just, again, it's whatever it has to be in that moment. If it's taking a few deep breaths, if it's turning my phone off for 10 minutes, if it's walking outside, whatever it is and whatever I have access to in that moment, I turn to that and say a little prayer.
Also, can you imagine being you and turning your phone off for 10 minutes? I'd be like, oh, nothing here? You? Not so much.
You'd be surprised.
I'm like, 10 whole minutes.
I love that. Well, ladies, thank you so much. This concludes our discussion. Whether you were in here in this room in person, thank you so much. To everyone watching virtually, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys got some really good tips on how to kind of stay balanced and refocused. And we, of course, want to thank all of our amazing panelists, Hailee, Lindsay, Shanae. You guys were so fun.
Thank you for being such a good host.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely also need to thank Core Hydration for hosting this event.
Yes.
Seriously, the water is really, really delicious,
Yes.
and it's fun to like choose like which flavor you want. So thank you guys so much again. And I want to say that for those of you that are watching at home, hopefully you will find a good way to find your balance with Core Hydration, and let us know what you do to find your balance by going to Instagram, and you can tag Core Hydration to tell us what you think about the drinks and about this discussion, all of that. So thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.